morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss all matters that relate to HR and advisory. As you can see today, it's a Saturday, and we've decided to look a bit different. Being a Saturday, many times we look very formal with suits and all those kind of things. But we've decided let's do a change of scenery and look a bit different. And I'm excited that you've joined us today. I'm your host. My name is Anthony Kuria, and with me is my co-host Zipporah Kuria. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning.
Yes, and also we have our, can we call our in-house, but our favorite guest, HR expert, Madam Martha Thuku. Welcome, Martha.
Welcome, viewers, to this broadcast. Thank you, Tony.
Yes. Now, you may be wondering who is Aurum and who is this podcast. Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants, HR and risk advisory consultancy. And our focus is to deal with difficult human resource capital problems by leveraging on technology, people, and the law. And we focus on helping SMEs deal with issues like inefficient and ineffective processes, things like labor law, and things like the risks, mitigating for the risks that come with just basically doing business. And we do so, as I said, by using technology, by using people, and also by enabling our customers be able to understand the law and helping them to do the same. Now, Martha, it's good for you also to introduce yourself to let our viewers know who Martha is and what specifically she does. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Tony, for this opportunity. Welcome, viewers. Again, my name is Martha Thuku. I'm HR and Admin Manager for LVCT Health. As usual, I would like to just say a bit about LVCT Health. We are big in mental health. So, and through this podcast, so many people have been helped. They have reached us, and we have been able to help them in matters mental health. Corporates have come to us. So don't be left out. If you are an employer and you need to do something for your staff, especially during this time of COVID, there's so many
Correct.
mental health issues coming up, and gender violence issues. So we are experts in helping your staff navigate through this COVID season in
Yes.
a mental wellness way. So should you want to reach us out through Aurum, they have my contacts and you will be able to be helped. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Mother, for that particular intro. Indeed, as you say, mental health is a big deal, especially during this very difficult transition that this country is going through the COVID season. People working from home have, you know, corporations, individuals, even government. We are all very, very stressed out. And it's good to know that there is an option that people can look for through your organization. Now, today we are doing the part 3 of the performance management discussion that we've been holding in the month of August. Today is part 3, and we've been discussing challenges and opportunities that come with performance management from a HR perspective. And we are focusing on the fundamentals of performance management, how managers should monitor and evaluate employees' work. As you all know, most employees really dread performance evaluations. Yet the exercise is there to help create an environment where employees can produce the best of their abilities. And to our viewers and anyone watching us through Facebook, if you have any questions, any comments, kindly post them. We will be very glad to be able to discuss them, to be able to, if you have questions, we will discuss them within the podcast. If not, we can always discuss them in the following week's podcast. And the key here is to understand that performance management is key for both employees and employer, because anyway, if you stand out, in what you do through performance evaluation. That's how promotions come in. And if there are challenges, then these challenges can be dealt with immediately because performance evaluation is never supposed to be a punishing tool. Now, let's jump right into it. Zippy, probably you could tell us what challenges do managers face when managing performance and how can they overcome them?
Thank you, Anthony, for that question and that intro. And just to respond to that, and even before I respond to that, I think performance management is something we need to embrace. It's something we need to look at from a very positive perspective. We should not look at performance like something that is just making our life more difficult, because even in our own personal lives we need to evaluate how we're doing, how we're performing. And of course, managers face a lot of challenges when they're having to do performance management. And one of the things we have to remember as managers, first, we are employees before we become managers. And we are also expected to perform, we are expected to deliver. So I would say managers do face challenges. And one of the challenges I think they face is when they're probably having to set boundaries, they're having to set expectations, and especially when probably they are perhaps not very clear of what is expected of them, they will face challenges because they have team members who understand also very well what is supposed to be done. They have team members who are probably more educated than they are. They have team members who are knowledgeable. So it's important for managers to be at the place where they are able to offer clear leadership to their team members. So sometimes managers do face challenges from a perspective of how do they manage this dynamic team members, people who have different expectations or they have different ways of doing things. The other thing is they face a challenge on is leading their teams to achieve the goals. A lot of times managers are held accountable for their departments. If their departments are not performing, is the
Mhm.
managers who will be held accountable. If their team members are misbehaving or something is going wrong in the department, the spotlight is on the manager. So sometimes you find there's a bit of a challenge. How do we bring everyone on board? How does everyone get to understand this is where we are going as an organization and this is what is expected of us as a team or as a department, so that we are all working together as a team? So I would say from a perspective of dealing with people with different backgrounds, people with different perspectives, can be a bit of a challenge itself. Yet this manager is an employee who is also expected to perform during this whole process. They're expected to give feedback to the top management. You know, how are we doing? How are you doing as an employee? How is your team doing? How do we make sure we manage challenges in your department? So I would say those are some of the few challenges they face. And I'm sure Mother, from an experience perspective, will be able to share more light on some of the experiences she's had as a manager as well.
Yes,
Thank
Martha,
you.
what's your view?
Thank you so much, Zippy. Yeah, rightly said. And even as we start, and maybe we can just recap a bit to remind us
Hmm.
what the goals for performance management. We
Hmm.
need to know that performance management provides a platform for adequate feedback on each and every person's performance, and also it provides a basis for change of behavior. uh, what I mean is that when I get to know what are my strengths, my weaknesses, I'm able to rise up and build on my strengths and then work on my weaknesses. So we don't call them weaknesses these days, it's areas of improvement and work on my areas of improvement.
That is true. That is
And,
true.
and also it helps managers make decisions for future promotions. So if that is the background, and that should always be the background of performance management or the basis. But now managers will face challenges because some of the challenges is the biasness. Over my
Correct.
working life, and especially I saw it a lot in the bank, where managers will evaluate you with a very biased mind, especially,
Yes.
like when we got into employment. For us, we had gone to school, we had done degrees and all, but the managers we found never maybe got even to do their
Yes.
degrees. So that manager feels threatened. So even when they are evaluating you, they're evaluating you from that angle, because they think if you perform better than them, you might overtake their job. And really, that is not the case, because you are the manager and the organization knows you are the manager. So
Yeah.
if we can remove that bias, then that challenge of biasness will come out. The other thing managers suffer is most organizations attach performance management to salary reviews. And so even when you are evaluating someone, they know that the score you're going to give will affect their salary increment. So you will have a tug of war with the people you are praising, because they are expecting a higher
Yes.
salary.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of back and forth in appraisals for organizations that attach salary review with performance management. So you find that that review or appraisal is not objective, because it is really focusing on the salary review. And
Yes.
there is no member of staff who will agree to get a small score lying down. They will
Oh,
fight for
yes.
a good score.
That
And,
is
and
true.
so that means the challenge of performance management is really lack of objectivity, because of all these things that come to play. And what I say is that, to overcome such kind of challenges, the most important thing is, first of all, we have said managers need to remove themselves from their performance appraisal. It has nothing to do with you. It is this person who needs to grow. You have been given someone by God to grow them. So
Yes.
evaluate them objectively according to their performance. And how do you do that? The first thing is to ensure that at the beginning you have set SMART goals. And SMART goals, Zippy, that acronym is, what is the
Smart.
meaning of that acronym?
Specific,
Specific,
measurable,
measurable, attainable,
attainable, time
Uh,
bound.
and time bound. That word, you need to make sure your goals are SMART. And what I'm in class right now, and there's a one of the units we're learning is called HR accounting. And what I have learned is it's good to use data. It's good to use metrics,
Mm,
even for setting goals, so that anything, you have a percentage. So if I have not scored, if I have not fulfilled this goal 100%, it means I have not met the goal. If I have done 110%, it means I have exceeded my performance. So for every goal, let there be uh, a specific number that you can score. So it will not be an objective story, Zippy. We are just here. Oh, I did not do. They went, they came back. So it's really metrics that are showing. The other thing about overcoming challenges in performance appraisal is having an ongoing communication over the year. Like in my organization right
Very
now.
correct.
And that's why I'm so happy right now for this podcast, because I'm also going to learn. Because right now we are going through performance appraisal, and I'm going to be noting the things we are going to learn here, so that I can also apply them. Because if someone is having a challenge with a goal in January, and I never
Yes.
pointed it out, February I did, all year round, but I bring it to the performance appraisal, and then now it's a surprise for the member of staff. You've never talked about this, but now it is an issue in this appraisal. So that will be a challenge. So for you to
Yes.
overcome appraisals, please have ongoing communication all through the year. Feedback feedback. And if I have done well, then tell me, oh, now this one you have done well. So by the time we are getting to appraisal, I'm not surprised at whatever it is my manager is saying, because then they have been communicating over the time. The other thing you can overcome challenge with performance management is having a 360-degree feedback, meaning like so the people you are working with, the people who kind of you're interacting one way or the other, what are they saying? And then, because what I learned, Tony, is
Yes.
that personalities come to play. Personality differences can come to play even in performance appraisal. How I feel
Oh,
about
yes.
you can come
Yes.
to play.
That is
And
true.
that's why there's a lot of bias in performance management. Mostly it's personality and hearsay.
Yeah.
And that's why it is
Yes.
so important to use metrics, so that then you don't have to use what you have had. You don't have to use, you just make sure you use the numbers. What did you set to do in January? Now we are in September, we are reviewing. Goal one, how have you achieved it? Goal two, how have you achieved it? So the personalities don't come to play. That's what I can say about that. Thank you. And maybe Zippy can help me.
Actually, Martha, to just pick on what you've said about metrics, and this is something we need to take very seriously, especially when it comes to performance appraisals and evaluations. I've seen scenarios, and this is actually experiences, where when you're using these metrics, an employee, let's assume the score was about 80, and the employee has done 60, and you are in the evaluation, discussion, and you're telling this employee you have not achieved the KPI, you've not hit your goal. And this employee's argument is, but I did 60. The question is, if the goal was 80, did you achieve? A lot of times, and I think we need to also evaluate how we look at salary reviews, and probably kind of see how we detach that from this performance story, because a lot of times when you're doing evaluation, people have expectations and they think their salaries are going to be reviewed. But that removes the objectivity of it, because we always say when you're employed, the first thing you're expected is to actually achieve the goal. So someone the other day asked the question, why am I rewarding you for achieving the goal that I have employed you to achieve in the first place? We should be rewarding you if you have completely gone beyond and over, and there's no doubt that you are consistently, doing well. But should that reward come as a part of a salary review? Maybe not. We need to relook at how we do this, so that we are not just rewarding people for doing what we've actually employed them to do, because I think this is where we go wrong. And the other thing I think I wanted to add on that, managers need to overcome the issue of having to give feedback. A lot of times we get so discomfortable when we are having to give feedback, and especially negative feedback on poor performance. We need to overcome that challenge and be able to be open enough to say you're not doing well in this area, and perhaps you need to consider 1, 2, 3. Managers need to overcome the challenge of having to give the solution. You need to help the employee think through the solution themselves, because when they think about the solution, they are able to implement that solution. But if you're the kind of a manager who will tell them do 1, 2, 3, what will happen a lot of times, you might find a lot of resistance, and that performance becomes a bit of a challenge, and you start finding you are having all this tug of war between the manager and the employee. So there's a lot of things I think managers can do to overcome the challenges they would face when they are managing performance. Of course, as a manager, it's also important for you to understand the whole process. Sometimes I've seen situations where managers don't understand also what is this process all about. So if they don't understand the process themselves, it becomes very difficult to implement the same with their team members. So perhaps they also need to think about, how do we work with the HR department to get to understand what is all this process about? Are we doing this to tick a box? What is the end goal at the end of the day? What are we trying to achieve by doing performance management? I think that is what I would add.
And
Wow,
one more
wow,
thing
wow.
before we continue, Zippy, you've
Yes,
said something that I remembered.
yes.
You find a manager calls HR complaining about zippy. But when they come to write down, like in that performance review, they will never put it down. So,
Ah,
so at the end of the day, the manager's shy or putting down the areas of weakness, areas of improvement for this person.
yes.
So when you look at the basis or the basics of performance management is to help that person grow.
Yes.
And in the next year, how they can adjust. So if you don't put it down and you don't discuss it during that appraisal, what you have been complaining about is not in writing. There's no way HR is going to act on anything that is not in writing, because then that is hearsay. When you're talking about this person, you're talking negatively. But when you have to put something in writing about their performance, you say very good things. So it contradicts, and then that performance appraisal is a failure, because then there's no learning that will come through that performance appraisal. Thank you.
And Mother, I
Wow.
think that brings out the issue of accountability. And again, this is a challenge that I've actually seen a lot, where we've done evaluations actually over the year. Because with our clients, what we have done, we have taken this as a process. It's not about ticking the box. Performance management is a process. And we are saying, don't wait until the end of the year or mid-year to do evaluation. It needs to be a continuous process. So if, as a manager, you're not taking accountability, and you're not being responsible for the performance of your team members, then you can't come back later when this employee has been given more responsibility, or they've been promoted based on your evaluation, and you start complaining. Or you can't come back and start saying, I don't want to work with this person. You are the same person who has actually evaluated this person very well. So the issue of accountability here is very key. And for me, I think this has created another, or basically it has brought in another issue of, our managers well equipped to know what they're supposed to be doing? Are they understanding what is really their core responsibility when it comes to managing people? And perhaps we need to invest a little bit more on training our managers on people management skills.
Very true. Very, very true. Zippy, Zippy, and Martha, this thing is starting to get hot. As Jeff Koinange would say, it's starting to get hot. The bench. Anyway, here we are not in the bench. We are on the Aurum podcast, and we welcome your comments, your views, your whatever it is that you think we would be able to comment. Because from what I'm hearing from both of you, it's something very powerful. That performance management really goes back again to the issue of the culture of the company. Because if the founders and the top managers institute a culture of meritocracy, a culture where, as Zippy has said, it's not because you have attained what you're supposed to do that is the basis of your getting increments. It is outperforming the set standards that causes you to stand out, and therefore calls you to either get an increment or to get a promotion. And at the same time, there is issues of training, because managers, part of the challenges that managers then face is, do they know what they're doing? Yeah, we talked earlier about biases. We talked earlier about biases and all those kind of things, and things like you're complaining about your staff, but when it comes to writing, you don't write anything. So, are you really trained as a manager to understand how to do performance management? Do you understand that this is a continuous evaluation? That just as you are being evaluated by the senior management, or if you're the senior management, if you're the chief executive, then probably you have a board that also evaluates you. So, in all those categories, is there a clear understanding what are the metrics to manage the person in the hot seat, from the CEO to the person on the floor? And therefore, if there is no metrics, then are they in place? And two, have the ones who are evaluating been trained to know what they are looking for, eliminating bias and focusing on that? And then thirdly, I've also thought about this, the performance metric. Mother, you talked about 360 feedback. You talked about smart, the whole process is it smart. So, which means then the process itself also needs to be tailored for that particular institution. And the evaluators, the managers, then also need to be trained to know what they're supposed to do. So this is a whole process, and it's not a difficult process to our listeners who are listening in. I would not want to say that this is a difficult process to do. It's not a time-consuming, what do you call it, time-consuming or a pointless exercise. It is very critical. Martha, you and I, and Zippy also, all of us have been employed at some point, both at companies where these evaluations were sham and places where they were. Like I have worked for one of the major banks in Kenya, and I'll tell you the truth, their system up to today, probably there could be others I have not experienced, but their system of evaluating, of monitoring, of being specific as to what they're monitoring was, for me, it was the standard. It opened my eyes to realizing that you can have a very specific system, performance management system for your company. You can make it very specific. You can train your staff on how to, even staff evaluating themselves, so that by the time you're sitting with your supervisor on a quarterly or half yearly or annual basis, you know where you stand. There is nothing like bias with depending, you don't like my face or things like that. It is basically very, very critical, very clear as how to operate. Now I can see our time is really going, but I think I have one question that I would want to just to understand. As a leader, Martha, as a leader as well as an employee who is having to manage performance, what would you advise on either side of the divide? You're a leader, you're an employee. Who, you've got to manage your own performance and you've got to manage the performance of your team. What would you advise either side of the divide?
Thank you once more, Tony. Thanks for that question. And, I remembered something. So what I feel most is especially new managers. So like you get into a new job. I'm just thinking of someone we have recruited where I work, and he's supposed to head a big number of people. And most of these people have been working with us, but the manager is new. And he is the one who is supposed to manage those people who have been working with us. Now, for us, who have been in that organization, we have we believe these people we have given this manager, they are good people, and maybe some are our friends, and we're insisting on the manager, you have good people. Just
Yes.
because of how I feel about ZP, we can work together because I feel her, and so it's like I'm expecting if I give ZP to another manager, that manager should see ZP the way I see her. And that is not the case.
Yes, that is true.
So what I was saying is I feel for this manager, because then if he says something negative towards someone I like, I will not believe it. You get? I will not believe it because I like this person. So even if they are not performing, as far as I'm concerned, they are good performers. And when there is that kind of a relationship, that person will never even grow because they know they have the backing from the top. So even if the manager is complaining, the top will not hear, because as far as they are concerned, that person is a
Yes.
performer. And maybe there must be a challenge when a manager is saying there's an
Yes.
issue. So for me, that's why I feel, and like for me as a manager, I'm introducing, and I like working with trackers. So we have the goal, and what are we tracking?
Yes.
And what is the end result for this goal? And each goal from any member who is under me, what have you achieved for that goal? And what is the end result of that goal? And that's what we will score. So as a manager, I should be allowed to use that tracker to evaluate people, not how the people who have been working with that person know them. Because
Yes.
maybe what they have been good at or what they have been doing has nothing to do with the current
Yes.
position.
Yes.
And this
Yes. That's
position
true.
has a different aspect and maybe this person is not strong in some areas, and they need to come out so that that person can be helped and grow. If it's skill that needs to be developed, if it's a training that needs to be done, that person needs to be evaluated objectively, not
Yes.
from the feelings of senior management or any other person. So as a manager, I would advise use metrics, use SMART goals. This is what I want done, and this is the end result. This is how it will look like when it is done the way we
Yes.
want it
Yes.
done. So that's what I think I can say for a manager. As for me as an employee, now for my manager, I would also like my manager to use the same, because then from where I sit, there's also the rumor that would go about me that may not be
Yes.
necessarily
True.
true. So you get into an organization, Tony,
Yes.
and even people who do not know you, they even hate you, and they don't know you. You've not interacted.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
have you ever been to a place and you meet someone and you think, oh, what people have been saying about this person is not true?
Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. That's true. That's true. I've seen that
And
happen.
that, and you know, if your manager evaluates you from that perspective, then it will never be objective. So for me, I would like my manager to evaluate me based on metrics. What is the goals they have given me to do, and
Wow. Brilliant.
have I
Yes.
how have I done them?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
feedback from the 360, they need to communicate to me. This is what
Mm-hmm.
people are saying. And
Mm-hmm.
so we evaluate what is true and what I
Mm-hmm.
need to work on. You get, because
Mm-hmm.
some things
Yeah.
are true and some are just perceptions.
Yes.
So as a person, if I'm the kind of a person who goes and sits back and and thinks about what people are saying, and I pick what you know when you do self-evaluation, you know yourself also.
That is true.
So
That
you
is
are
true.
able to pick up and
Yes.
evaluate yourself and build on what people have said. And then
Yes.
you pray for the perceptions, because then there's nothing you can do. It's only if this is how you see me. Even if I
Yes.
do what, you will always see
Yes.
me like that. So
Yeah, that is
I
true.
pray for you that God's wisdom will come and help
Yes.
you to see me as the real person God made me to be. That's that's
Wow.
that's what I can say, and I would allow Zippy to add. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Zippy, what's your take?
Thank you, Mother. I think Mother has enumerated it very well. I would say, as a leader, lead your team. Be the leader and lead from the front. If you set goals for your team members, make sure you're setting your own goals and achieving them. And if you're going to really achieve anything, there's no way you can achieve that without leading from the front. All right. Be a good communicator. Mother talked about communication. A lot of times there's serious breakdown of communication when we're managing performance. There's no clear expectations, there's no clear boundaries. So what happens in the process? Goals are dropped, people drop the ball, and again we start having challenges as we go along. The other thing I would say, as a team leader, involve your team members. When you're setting goals, don't go set their goals somewhere and come and tell them these are your goals. Involve them in the process. Let them be the part of the process that you're putting in place. And of course, make performance the culture of your organization, make performance the culture of your department. That way, it becomes easy for people to buy in, as opposed to when you're just pushing it down the throat. Now, when it comes to the employees, I would say change your mindset. Performance is never supposed to be rocket science. It's never supposed to be that difficult. If you've been engaged to do a task, the minimum expectation is you'll be able to fulfill that responsibility. So change your mindset about performance. Get involved and be a team member. Work with the other team members to achieve your goals. And of course, understand the business dynamics as an employee. I've
Yes.
seen
That's very
situations where an employee
important.
is working in an organization, but they have no knowledge of what this organization is about or what is really happening within the organization. Get to understand what is happening in the whole business. Get to the point where you are understanding what is this business all about? Where is my place in this business, and what can I do to help the business achieve its mission? So take it upon yourself to understand the complete business dynamics as an employee. And I think that would be my take. And performance is never supposed to be so difficult. Let's stop making it difficult, both from the leadership perspective, from the employee perspective. Let's change our mindset about performance. Let's not use performance to punish people. Let's not use performance, to put people in a situation where they feel I don't belong here. Let's use
Mm.
performance for what it's supposed to be to make our organizations better.
Yeah,
And I can see Mother is
I'm
laughing.
I'm laughing.
Yes.
I'm laughing because when ZP said, let's not use performance to punish people, I have learned even where I'm at working, there's this slogan, tutakutana kwa appraisal.
Oh my.
So
Yeah.
So during appraisal season, there's a spirit of fear because
Mm.
because someone is thinking, "Gosh, now what will my manager say?" And I,
Mm,
and as
Mm.
I heard for ZP, what you have said is truly important for managers. If you have not brought it up
yeah.
during the ongoing communication over the year, please don't
Mm.
bring it during appraisal.
Appraisal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's why maybe for organizations, it's important not to just have uh, appraisal season just once a year. Maybe it's
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
important to have media reviews
mm,
because
Mm-hmm.
during media
Mm-hmm.
reviews, you are able to kind of have those discussions so that you
Yes.
don't have surprises at the end of the
The
appraisal.
year.
mm,
And
Mm.
then also, like for me as a member of staff being appraised, I should also come out of the voyeur kind of mentality, because it is
Mm-hmm.
not personal, it
mm,
is
Yeah.
work. And if my manager is objective, then I should know that my manager is objective, and
mm,
I should work with them for of the areas I think they should be that I need to improve. So, this thing called coaching is so important during the year, because
Mm-hmm.
then that's how you know how to develop your staff, and even appraise them for promotion, because
mm,
it's what you have put
Mm-hmm.
in your staff as a manager that will help you make that final comment in the appraisal. Martha is
Mm.
ready for the next
Level.
promotion.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
but if you have not done it, then as a manager, you have failed, and you can't really put it against that staff, because it is you who have been mandated to ensure that that person is growing. So
Mm,
it's a whole mix of things in appraisal, and we pray that all appraisals go well every time we do them. But if for especially for managers, if we deliberately and want to build our staff, even the one who is lagging behind, because I'm a firm believer that every person has something to offer.
Mm.
I don't believe that there's someone who can't do something. I
mm,
feel like
Mm-hmm.
they have potential within, and there's someone who needs to bring out that potential.
mm,
Now,
Yes.
if I'm the one who has been presented with that person, and God is expecting me to bring out that potential that they are not aware they have, then how
Yes.
how should I do it? How should I use performance appraisal to ensure that
Mm-hmm.
potential comes out? So performance appraisal is just a final thing in this whole mix of things. It is the ongoing thing that is happening from the beginning of the year. What am
mm,
I doing that by the end of performance, by the time we are doing a performance appraisal, that person, if even if I have been very hard as a manager, that person will say, truly, I have learned from my manager. Then I also learned, like, there are some managers who don't know how to give good scores. They don't believe in giving an A. I can ask, but please give the A where it is deserved. Yeah.
Deserving.
Yeah,
Mm.
you can't say, like when I was in campus, I learned that there's one of the lecturers. He gives you a C. He is so happy. You got a C in my class, and you are complaining, and you're thinking the best he can give is a C. when a A is deserving. Managers, let's give A's when they are deserving, but also let her give D's and E's when they are deserving, as long as you can back it up. So not out of your mindset that, oh, I don't like the way Martha dresses. You give her a C because of that. As long as it's objective and performance. Oh, I don't know how much time it is, but performance really comes even, it's a whole thing from even recruitment, how we recruited that person, the skill, do they have the skill you get? So have you ever been in an interview, and like where I work, I like how the interviews questions are set. The manager puts technical questions, and they can tell you, if that person answers these questions, they can do the job. Meaning, when you are doing performance appraisal, the same things should be in the performance appraisal, so that you appraise me. These questions I answered so well technically. How technical am I when implementation came to place? So it's just a whole aspect, and it's ongoing communication, and appraisal at the end is the final. It's just one element of a whole big thing of building someone, ongoing communication, coaching and mentoring, and all those things that add up to the final performance appraisal. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Martha. Thank you for giving us that conclusive remark. Indeed, if I don't like your face, should not be the reason why I give you a D. There has to be very specific analytics that show why this is happening. Well, thank you, Beth.
Actually, Anthony, just allow me just 1 second to say something. And this is actually to HR people, because we are the drivers of these processes. We are the ones who have to make sure these performance evaluations are being done and they're being done well. And this is something that I'm learning from our own experiences. Let's also take stock. Let's also do surveys to understand how did this process go. Let's get feedback from the people who have been evaluated, how the process went on, so that again we are able to improve on the process. And right now we have use of technology. Mother has talked about data analytics. We are moving to using data. So let's use surveys to be able to get feedback and improve on our processes.
Right. Thank you for that. The processes, ladies and gentlemen, processes are very important. Those are the metrics that we use. It's not subjective. It's not about how I like you. The way Martha said, I like you, so we put you under ZP, and ZP is wondering, what do you mean? This person can't deliver. But I'm thinking, I'm the boss. I know that person. Please, they are a good performer, you know. So everything has to be very systematic, very objective, very clear. Now, our listeners, we have come to the end of our podcast today. Thank you, Betty Musumba, for your comment that indeed this is an insightful discussion. Thank you for those compliments. And we are looking indeed forward to having our fourth and final session next week. Next Friday, we'll have our fourth and final session on performance management to coincide with the end of August. And we hope that you will come in. That time we will have actually a webinar, a whole hour of discussing. Hopefully we'll have Martha and 1 or 2 other individuals who will come in, and we'll have a panelist of discussion discussing this whole issue of performance management and bringing it, demystifying it, and bringing it to a level where we understand. We bring things to do with culture, to do with things to do with meritocracy from an employer's perspective, from an employee perspective, you know, understanding that this is an ongoing process. And indeed, if you strengthen it, then a lot of the challenges that SMEs and corporates are facing in Kenya today would be highly simplified if they got this particular metric well. So Martha, thank you for coming. Thank you for being our guest today. ZP, thank you as ever being our in-house expert and giving us your wisdom. And to even Fundi wa Mitambo at the backstage, we appreciate you for keeping us going. And we are looking forward to next week. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our contacts are at the bottom of your screen. You can get in touch with us by phone, by email, via Facebook, via LinkedIn, via WhatsApp. If you would like to know more about Aurum Consultants, our website is also there, www.aurumconsultants.co.ke, and whatever it is that you'd like to know more about Aurum, kindly get in touch with us. As for that, we've come to the end of our podcast today. Thank you for logging in. same time, same place next week. Join us as we conclude this discussion on performance management. I'm your host, Anthony Kuria. God bless you.